Good morning, Fed Phoenix fam. So today, early in the day, we're going to get spicy. So, something that a lot of people ask me about going into prison, um, which is always, again, another uncomfortable but interesting topic, is what about naughty time? Gay for the stay, straight at the gate, that whole thing. Hmm. So we're just going to jump right in. First off, not all people, not all women, and I'm going to speak on women's prison particularly because that's what I have experience in. And I know the culture of men's prison regarding many things, including this, is very different. But not all women who are into other women romantically or intimately, while incarcerated, are not like that in the free world. I mean, it is what it is. In this day and time, you have women who like women in prison and outside of prison, both. You have people who, are on a spectrum, I guess, that they say that they're actually attracted. It's not really specific to men or women but more so to personalities or intelligent conversation or that kind of thing. Some people just say they're attracted to attractive people, and that's an open-ended, thing. Um, but it's very tricky in women's prison because, of course, it's against the rules for incarcerated persons to have physical contact with one another, right? So now, when I was in prison, we had a group of individuals who we called the boys. The boys were more often than not slender, black women, often with dreads or braids. And then you had the others, the chubby one with the braids, or there were some white females who were into other women that were very masculine. The boys were the term for the very masculine individuals who were into other women. And and there were some white ones, there were some Spanish ones, um actually one Hispanic, one Mexican American young lady. She was actually pretty young. She was in her 20s, I think, and really beautiful, by the way. But anyway, but when it comes to, you always know who's in a relationship in prison because there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of gossip. Again, women's prison, so it's probably a little different than men's. Um, Also, these are people that usually want to be cube mates. They want to share the same cubicle, which, is all good and well. However, for me personally, and for a lot of other folks, it can become an inconvenience if you live next to these people. Because you got to remember, the cubicles at the prison I was at did not have doors, and the walls did not go to the ceiling. They were like 4.5, 5 feet high or something. So thankfully, I was a bottom bunk person, but top bunk people have the misfortune of being seen by everybody all the time and seeing everybody all the time. Um, which is, you already are going to know more about these people than you want to because you live together. And in the free world, with all of its luxuries and comforts, if you put two random strangers and make them cohabitate, there's a very good chance that they're not going to particularly like each other pretty quick. You take two people that know each other, that like each other, and they cohabitate, there's a good chance at some point they're going to get tired of each other pretty quick. And stop liking each other even, perhaps. And the same goes for prison, but instead of, a friend moving into your house for a little while, or moving into a roommate situation in a rooming house in college, instead you have all the depravity of prison, all the stress that comes with that, all the chaos and drama that comes with that environment, you know, and you don't have a door you can close and have any level of privacy. And you also, it's not just one or two people, it's 120 other people. So it's really a rough situation. Um, when I was incarcerated, a lot of the couples, the COs can't go in the showers. I mean, I'm sure if there was like a medical emergency or something, a known fight occurring in the shower, they could go in. But see, showers, we had like walls and doors, like shower stalls, you know what I mean? So in the shower, you did have privacy. So a lot of the couples would hook up in the showers because the COs aren't coming back there. And unless somebody snitches on you, this is your chance to be alone, completely unclothed with your significant other and do whatever it is you guys do. For me personally, if I noticed there were two pairs of feet in the shower stall next to me, I just mind my own business. It's not my business. And at the end of the day, we're all human. And I think a lot of the women in prison who find a partner in prison, or some many partners, I think it really boils down to one of two things, for them. If they're not, if they're straight in the free world or labeled as such, I think it boils down to human contact, emotional connection, the non-physical aspect of a relationship. They need that, they want that, desperately. And the physical just happens to almost kind of be, just a small detail that's kind of thrown in by default because the other party, wants that, or because they just kind of feel like that's what's expected of them in order to keep the relationship. Another group, of ladies in prison who are into other ladies are those who, have some curiosity. They didn't have those college years or those teens or early 20s that a lot of women in the free world have, where they kind of are like, checking out other things in life and kind of finding what's for them. Some of these people, they come from an environment where that just wasn't an option. So once they get in prison, where this is not only an option but a thriving option, a very readily available one, they go down, they go down the rabbit hole and see if it's for them or if it's not, or just to see what it's about. um a lot of the more masculine, because you have situations where two women are together in prison and they're both feminine, right? And I've never seen a situation where two women are together and they're both masculine. That just never happens. But they're both feminine, which is not a majority thing. But the majority is you have one that's more masculine and one that's clearly more feminine. But with the more masculine types, a lot of times I think these relationships were just hustles. They find women in there who are going to do their laundry and cook their food and make their bed and put money on their books or let them eat their commissary. And it's a hustle. I mean, at the prison I was at, if you had a decent personality and you didn't even have to be good looking, and if you got your uniform, too big, and just got sports bras to push down your tatas, and if you chose to be masculine, even if that's not who you are in the free world, and and make yourself readily available to other women, there are plenty who, just for the companionship or whatever, maybe they're into that. Maybe they genuinely are attracted to who you are, or what the persona you're portraying, would be drawn to you. And because there's 700 women, right? And maybe out of that 700, a dozen are boys. The boys are a hot commodity. And it's just like in the free world. If you're a man who's a straight man that works in a female dominated field, or you're a woman who works in a male dominated field. I have a cousin who's a corrections officer, not where I was incarcerated, and is rather promiscuous. And she obviously works in a men's prison, very, and the ocean of testosterone. And she's, been not so professional, I'm sure, with several other of her coworkers. I'm not going to speculate about inmates because that would be implying that she's committed, would be a crime. And I would not do that to anybody, because I've been in the cage, and I don't like seeing other people in the cage. And it certainly would not have been predatory, but definitely with some coworkers. It's no secret. Matter of fact, I think she married one, or has had a couple of them live with her over the years or whatever. Um, and it's the same thing in prison. If you're one of the boys, you're a hot commodity, and there's going to be at least a few people that are interested in being your lady. And and that can get really messy, and that can be a lot of drama. And you may be wondering, so, like, what was really like going down? Sometimes you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and you hear what we call macaroni noises. Envision in your head the sound of macaroni being stirred in a pot. You hear that coming from a bottom bunk. And you just mind your business, keep your eyes forward, and keep walking. You know what's going on. Um, I personally kept my eyes forward and kept walking because it's just not my thing, but I don't judge it. You know what I mean? I'm not against it in any way. It just is what it is. Um, there was certainly some situations where people's lockers would get shook down and homemade. I want to be careful what I say because I don't want to make this too graphic in case any younger people happen to stumble upon this video. Although I am going to make the settings just for adults 18 and over. But there would definitely be some times where lockers would get shook down, and some of the contraband that would be found would be where someone has taken a pencil or a toothbrush holder, the cases, and put sanitary napkins around it, clean ones, and adhered that, with tape or with rubber bands. And usually that is placed inside like a rubber glove or perhaps, a tightly, tied on, trash bag or something. And essentially they're making, I'm trying to think what would be okay to say on YouTube. They're making toys or strap-ons. People would use bras as a harness to make these things strap-ons. And sometimes the CEOs would find these things when they would do shakedowns. And I always kind of, almost in a very juvenile way, found it very entertaining. Like, oh, that came out of whose locker? Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But, it is what it is. It's, these are all adults. Nobody was assaulted in an aggressive manner of a sexual nature, where I was incarcerated during that time. I do know that I had researched and read about before I went to Alderson, the prison I was at. There was a big scandal not long before where one of the captains, one of the COs, had actually violated, several, like lots and lots of women inmates, most of which against their will. And I've seen the picture of this guy online. I am confident that was not a consensual situation. However, you will find if you go to prison that most of the opposite gender guards are very animate and very public about the fact that they don't want inmates fraternizing with them. They don't want inmates, God forbid, do not touch them. I've seen a situation where an older lady, was talking to one of the male COs and, small talk, this little old lady, and she touched his arm, in a very, very innocent way, like, when you're talking to somebody, particularly older people, they tend to kind of pat your back or, and she touched his arm and he like jumped back and very loudly was like, don't you effing touch me. You do that again, I will spray you. You will be kicked off the camp and sent to the regional jail, which in West Virginia, we have regionals, which are multi-county complexes, and they are horrible. Worst conditions you can imagine, for any type of county jail. But, you'll be sent to the regional, you'll get a write-up, you will go to a higher security facility, you will lose your good time. Like, I will bring the wrath upon you if you ever touch me again in any context. And it was really shocking to me because, of course, this elderly woman was like, she was terrified. Like, oh my God, this nice young man I was talking to just went completely bat crap on me. But, that was smart on his end because he was not only letting her know there's very clear boundaries here that are going to be respected, but, definitely made enough of a spectacle that we all understood that there would be no, fraternizing or accidentally touching, old CO hottie because he ain't going for it. And not that, there aren't, in any incarceration situations, scenarios where, some inmates and staff have consensual relationships. And I know people say that it can't be consensual because the inmate is, an oppressed party, is not on an equal standing ground. It's kind of like an employer and a low-level employee. It's not considered consensual in much context. And it's absolutely true that some people would take advantage of their position, and their power to victimize others in every way possible, including intimately. However, when I was there, any relationships that I had suspected, we'll just say, between staff and inmate were definitely clearly very consensual, that too. um and again, speculation, and quite frankly, I don't remember any particulars. So if anybody sees this video and decides to reach out to my probation officer and say, hey, find out, what she's talking about, I don't know nothing. I don't know nobody's business but my own. That's the only business I know. And I have documented frontal lobe damage, so I mean, it's just a medical situation. I don't know nothing about nothing. Or as the girl on Ozark says, I don't know shit about fuck. But yeah, but it happens. But don't go into prison if you're a person that's going in, which a lot of people who follow my channel are. Don't go in there thinking that, oh my gosh, there are these predatory, super masculine Debo type women that are gonna grab my butt. That just doesn't happen. At least not in a camp, for sure. Definitely not in a federal prison camp. It's just not a factor. And like I said, there was a big scandal about one particular guard at Outerson long before I went there, was gone, that had aggressed and preyed upon several inmates in a sexual manner. But I can say when I was there, and I think it's kind of the norm, that just doesn't typically happen in a federal prison camp. So that's what's up with that. Funny enough, when I was there were two major assault incidences, none of which were people were killed or anything, just, enough to, people being jumped and sent to the hospital, and, they come back and they're kind of, banged up, and their assailants have been written up and shipped off the compound. They're going to higher security facilities. But one of those incidents was a person who, their version of events, which was completely untrustworthy, was that, oh, this person knew that they and their associates were involved in some business on camp, and was telling on them or threatening to tell on them, and so they jumped her. That's not what really happened. What really happened, from much more reputable sources, is this one particular person, who I'm not a fan of, was actually my bunkie briefly, which worst ever. But anyway, decided that she, in fact, was going to be the feminine part of some relationships. And this spiraled into a situation where you had 2 or 3 boys in the same unit. And you understand the term boys now. And, a handful of females, feminine women. And they were having like orgies, quite frankly, in between counts late at night. And it was really upsetting and making uncomfortable a lot of the older inmates. So the other party involved, who ended up being the victim, who I actually also know, and was in a unit with as well, who's really a nice person, really good lady. But, she was discussing with someone else, hey, this is ridiculous. This is out of hand. It's very disrespectful, especially to the elderly women in the unit. And the other party heard this, and they began to have a confrontation. The good person, out of the two, because like I said, I know both these parties will have to tell you that one is a real POS and the other one's actually a nice person, a good person. But the POS got confrontational with the good person, and ultimately just escalated to where the better of the two, basically beat the crap out of the loudmouth. And then the loudmouth's friends, with their steel-toed boots on, jumped in and attacked this woman. So that was an assault that the origin of it was largely a sexual situation, a repeated sexual situation, where there were no victims. But that was creating such a problem and inconvenience to their inmates that it needed to be addressed. So, and of course the assailants were all, some I think were criminally charged, but they were all wrote up. They were all taken to regional and now are in higher security facilities. But, it's crazy. The fishbowl, man, the fishbowl is nuts. But yeah. But so, and if you're a person who, who's a woman who's going into prison that has some curiosities, I assure you, you will find plenty of people who are willing to entertain that with you. And if you're a person who just isn't into women, like myself, no one's going to push that on you. No one's going to, be aggressive with you. You'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. But, so anyhow, so that is my little tidbit, longer than usual video. This one was like 20 minutes, but on, grown folk relations between ladies in lady prison. So If you have any questions, feel free to comment them. I will respond. And if you like the video, like the video. If you'd like to see more content, please hit notifications. I will post in the description the link to my Cash App and my PayPal if you'd like to donate to the channel. Fed Phoenix now has a merch line. I will post the link for that also in the description. So if you want to represent the Fed Phoenix fam, you are more than welcome to do so, and you can buy a t-shirt to say it loud and proud. And as you all know, I'll be coming out with a book I intend to start working on soon. I'm hoping to really have it kind of polished up and ready sometime next summer, beginning, middle, end. And then I will publish through Amazon. And whenever that's done, I will post a link for that book as well. And that book will be, regarding or about the 16 months that I spent in prison. So have a great day, everyone. And whatever you're going through, remember, this is just a slice of your life and you will get through it because you have to. So, and my email will also be in the description. So if any of you need to reach out to me, people do this fairly often, because they have a loved one in prison or a loved one going to prison or they're going to prison. Whatever I can do to help you through this process, I am quite happy to do. So with that, everyone, good day. God bless. Take care. And, Okay, I'm just going to end it there. I'm out, Fed Phoenix fam. Have a lovely day.